This is massive for the Vancouver Canucks. We have reports that they're looking to add at the trade deadline, and we're going to walk you through a few options that they may look at on this episode of Hattrick HQ. But before we get into it, just want to say we're on the road for 3,000 subscribers here on the channel, so really appreciate it if you're not subscribed already to go down below and hit that subscribe button. But with that said, let's go right into the first topic of the video today, which is the Canucks looking to add a top 6 forward. And as we take a look here, it says LeBron on Insider Trading says one of the things he and Jim Rutherford talked about in his upcoming piece for The Athletic was the trade deadline and the idea of the Canucks adding a top 6 forward. And Mark, obviously this is huge news. The Canucks are on a roll right now. They're a bit of a wagon here. I mean, they just won just last night in overtime. Elias Pettersson, who has been on an alarming pace this year, had a 4-point night last night, and this team is gearing up to be Stanley Cup contenders in my eyes.
Yeah, you see this team just overall performing so well, and it's kind of surprising. I mean, you've seen guys like Kuzmenko that's kind of struggling to start this year. He's getting a lot of healthy scratches, but the team's already going out and adding. We've seen them add Zadorov. We've seen this team just be so heavy on all ends of the ice. Demko's having a stellar year, and they're not afraid to add more as they're one of the top teams in the West, and they're looking to make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, their goaltending has been outstanding, their defense has been outstanding, and their offense has been outstanding. Every part of this team has looked amazing so far this season. Like I said, they're a wagon. I think we're going to see a lot of people jump on the Vancouver Canucks bandwagon heading into playoffs, and I think I might be one of them, Mark. If Montreal can't make the playoffs, I think I'm riding on the Canucks bandwagon because this team is electric to watch. I found myself staying up late night here on the West Coast to watch this team, and it'll be really interesting to see who they add here at the trade deadline. And one of these people that they may add is Sean Monahan. And as we take a look here, Dreger said on Insider Trading, you can go back to the offseason when the Canadians signed Sean Monahan. They had an agreement at that point, and that said, we will trade you when the time is right to a contending team or to a team of your choice. Nothing has changed there. And as we take a look at Monahan so far this season, he has 24 points through 41 games. Obviously, Sean Monahan has been a staple here in the NHL throughout his career. Has been solid on many great teams, especially those years in Calgary. And he is right now, Mark, only making $2 million a year. This could be a great guy. Maybe you ship off a prospect or maybe a draft pick to get this guy to Vancouver. But this is a guy who you could slide into your bottom 6, even into your top 6, and he could really bolster this team come playoff time.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of reports kind of floating around that the Canucks are kind of looking for maybe another center. So Sean Monahan fits that perfectly. As we've seen, Sean Monahan is a great two-way guy. We've seen through his time in Calgary, he was outstanding. Injuries kind of derailed his career a tiny bit, but it seems like those are a bit of the past. He's having a good season for the Montreal Canadiens, so adding this guy at deadline would definitely add center depth to this team. You could maybe slot him in on the second line during a pinch, but ideally you could put him on the third line, maybe the power play, penalty kill, whatever it may be. This guy's like a Swiss Army knife. You can use him all over the ice. And honestly, bringing him in is a perfect fit, in my opinion. I think he would be one of the cheaper options. Now, I don't think he's going to come at a seventh round pick or anything, but at deadline, this guy's salary is going to be a lot cheaper than I think it's 1.985 million. So if you bring him in, it's going to be cheaper than this. You could retain a tiny bit if needed, and maybe just give up a mid pick with another prospect or maybe a second, third, whatever it may be. I think this should definitely be on the radar. And if not, I think a lot of teams are going to be looking at Monahan.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you there. As a Montreal fan, I'd hate to see Monahan go. He's such a great player, a great 200-foot player, but I'd really like to see him maybe get on this Canucks team to make them push for that Stanley Cup, because the Cup needs to come back to Canada, and I really think we have a good shot at it this year with this Vancouver team, with the Toronto team, but I really do think that Vancouver could add this guy, and he could easily slot into this top 6 and just make this offense even better. But there is another guy, maybe a bigger name in some eyes, that we're going to talk about here, and that is Jake Guentzel from the Pittsburgh Penguins. And as we take a look here, it says the Penguins don't seem ready to trade away Guentzel as of now, but if the wheels fall off before the trade deadline, they might not have a choice but to pull the trigger on a trade. Radio analyst, he said for the Vancouver Canucks said that a good destination for Guentzel would be the Canucks, and it's the Canucks organization is already loaded with former Penguins, and another high level player would make sense. And as you take a look here, since I talked to Guentzel's agent this week, he's taken it slow. The deadline is still weeks away. The problem with Guentzel is the cost is going to be high. We're looking at a first rounder, a top prospect, and a player in return for a guy like Jake Guentzel. And obviously, as we know, Kyle Dubas during his time with the Toronto Maple Leafs has, made some trades with Vancouver in the past. So this could be really an option we could see. He has, a relationship with the Canucks organization, and they could easily find a way to make this deal work. But we also see Jake Guentzel's stats so far this season. This guy has been a great player here, 44 points in 39 games, over a point per game. Right now, his highest point total in his career was 84 points in 76 games. But this is a guy, a star in the league who you can bring in here, getting over a point per game and really bolster this offense. And as of now, he is making $6 million AAV on the last year of his deal. And funny enough, this contract was signed by Jim Rutherford of the Vancouver Canucks during his time in Pittsburgh. But Mark, I mean, this could be a huge deal that we could see for Vancouver to kind of bolster their top six here, and adding a guy like Jake Guentzel, over a point per game player, could really boost this offense even further into the stratosphere than what it is right now.
Yeah, this would be a huge add, not only because Jake Guentzel is so offensively gifted, but you could almost lock this guy up long term. I know the Canucks do have a lot of pieces that they need to extend, Pettersson being the number one right now, but you have guys like Tyler Myers coming off the books next year that could really make the difference. If you just kind of wanted to bring up the screenshot with the asking price, this is the biggest thing with this because they're asking for a first, a prospect, and a player. So some prospects, I mean, Lekkerimaki, Willander, Elias Pettersson, and by Elias Pettersson, I mean the DPD, the defenseman version that we've seen in the World Juniors. Some of these guys are top prospects. I don't know how willing the Canucks are going to be moving out a piece like this. I know they have a first round pick this year. The following two drafts, they do have a first and a second. So maybe they look at a future draft pick that they want to move off. Maybe it's this year if they're that confident they can make a deep run. So maybe you move off the defenseman Elias Pettersson, a first, maybe a contract like Kuzmenko, as we're seeing him being held out of the lineup a lot. Maybe this is a change of scenery that Pittsburgh might be like, hey, we'll take a swing. This guy was outstanding last year. He's signed to, I believe it's 5.5. He could change his game around. And I mean, right now, the Canucks are not really using him at all. He kind of lost the trust in the organization, it seems like. So you could bring in a guy like Jake Guentzel. It is going to cost a lot. But having this guy built into the future with guys like Elias Pettersson and so on, it would just be massive for the Canucks, not just this year, but for the future. And I think it could be game changing of them making a huge run and ultimately winning the Stanley Cup this year.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think it all comes down to here is if the Canucks organization says, hey, we're going to go for it all this year. We're going to put all of our effort in here at the trade deadline to solidify our team that we think could potentially win a Stanley Cup for us. And if you're bringing in a guy like Jake Guentzel, you're going to have to give up a lot, but it is going to be worth it in the long run because you're going to be strong competitors already. And then you're adding such a great offensive talent here with Jake Guentzel, an over a point per game player, a guy who's just going to light it up here in Vancouver and really help bolster this offense going into the playoffs. But like you said, Mark, you're going to have to give up a lot. I believe a guy like Kuzmenko will probably be involved in this deal, one of their top prospects as well, and maybe multiple first round picks, depending on what player, what prospect they throw into this deal. But I really do think it will be something they do look at, and maybe they could get some retained salary on a guy like Jake Guentzel. We want to hear from you guys down below in the comment section below. Let us know, what do you think about a Jake Guentzel trade to Vancouver? Do you think it's really out of the realm of possibility, or do you think that this is something that we could seriously see happen? Or would you just be fine with adding a guy like Sean Monahan? Let us know down below in the comment section. We're going to get in everybody's favorite topic of the video, and that is comment of the day. The comment of the day today goes to Notorious. He says New Jersey Devils 1-year deal. And of course, he's talking about Corey Perry. I mean, there is going to be a lot of teams looking at Corey Perry. And as you might have seen in today's earlier video, that the Maple Leafs may be front runners for this guy. But it'll be really interesting to see where he goes. I mean, this could be a guy the Canucks add as well to kind of bolster their bottom six. But really interesting to see what happens with things around Corey Perry. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to go down below, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like we said, we're on the road for 3,000 subscribers, so I really appreciate it if you went down, hit that subscribe button, and while you're down there, leave a comment. Maybe you'll be featured on the next comment of the day. But as always, if you enjoy the NHL, make sure to check out this video popping up on your screen right now. But I've been your host, KC, alongside my co-host, Mark Pye. Keep your stick on the ice.